Before sunrise, Evelyn packed everything she owned and disappeared from Silver Creek Ranch. She believed leaving would save Samuel and Lucy from the men threatening them. But when Samuel found her note, he realized the woman who had accidentally fallen asleep on his shoulder had become the only reason he wanted to come home. But 3 months earlier, Evelyn Hart had no home, no money, and no idea the quiet cowboy sitting beside her would change her life. The stagecoach struck a deep rut just as it entered the town of Red Willow, throwing every passenger sideways. A wooden trunk slammed against the rear door, a baby began to cry, and someone near the front cursed beneath his breath. Evelyn Hart did not hear any of it. After 3 sleepless nights on the road, she had finally surrendered to exhaustion, her head resting comfortably against the shoulder of the stranger beside her. When the coach stopped in front of the Red Willow Hotel, laughter moved through the cabin. Evelyn opened her eyes and found 6 passengers staring at her. Her cheek was pressed against a worn brown coat, and one of her hands had curled around the stranger's arm as though they had known each other for years. She pulled away so quickly that her bonnet nearly fell off. "I am terribly sorry," she said. The man beside her was tall, sun-browned, and dressed like someone who spent more time beneath an open sky than under a roof. A thin scar crossed his jaw, and his gray eyes seemed almost too calm for the amount of attention they were receiving. He glanced at the passengers, then back at Evelyn. "Best rest I've had on this trip," he said. "Nobody asked me a single question for nearly an hour." The laughter stopped. Evelyn stared at him, uncertain whether he was teasing her. The corner of his mouth lifted slightly, but before she could respond, he stood, took his hat from the overhead rack, and stepped out of the coach. "Who was that?" she asked the woman sitting across from her. The woman leaned toward the window. "Samuel Reed," she whispered, "owns the Silver Creek Ranch north of town. Lost his brother and sister-in-law 2 years ago. Hasn't been the same since." Evelyn watched Samuel cross the street and disappear between the general store and the blacksmith shop. He never looked back. She had come to Red Willow because the territorial school board had advertised for a new teacher. The position included a room beside the schoolhouse and enough pay for Evelyn to begin rebuilding her life. After the death of her mother, she had sold nearly everything they owned to settle their debts. All that remained fit inside one traveling case and a small leather satchel containing her teaching certificates. The following morning, Evelyn presented herself at the schoolhouse. Mayor Franklin Bell greeted her in the doorway, but the enthusiasm described in his letters had vanished. "I'm afraid circumstances have changed," he said. Evelyn tightened her grip on the satchel. "You confirmed my appointment less than 3 weeks ago. And at the time, the position was open. My nephew returned from Denver unexpectedly. He has experience with children." "Does he have a teaching certificate?" Mayor Bell's smile thinned. "He has the support of the town council." Evelyn understood. The position had never truly belonged to the most qualified applicant. It belonged to whoever the mayor wanted to reward. She spent the next 4 days searching for work. The hotel needed no additional maids. The dressmaker could not afford an assistant. The general store owner said a woman traveling alone might leave without warning. Even the church declined her offer to help maintain its records. By Friday evening, Evelyn possessed 12 cents and a room she could no longer pay for. She sat beneath the awning outside the closed telegraph office while cold rain swept through the town. Her traveling case rested beside her feet as she told herself she was only waiting for the storm to weaken. But there was nowhere left for her to go. A little girl in a blue coat stopped across the street and stared at her. Evelyn offered a tired smile. The girl did not smile back. She turned and ran. Nearly an hour later, hoofbeats sounded through the rain. Samuel Reed rode up beside the boardwalk, dismounted, and tied his horse to the railing. "Miss Hart?" Evelyn stood, embarrassed that he had found her there. "I'm waiting for the weather to clear." Samuel looked at the darkening sky. Could be Tuesday. She folded her arms against the cold. "Then I suppose I shall become very familiar with this awning." The little girl stepped out from behind Samuel. She appeared to be about 10 years old, with dark braids and a serious expression. "This is my niece Lucy," Samuel said. "She tells me you're a teacher." "I was supposed to be." "Can you teach arithmetic?" "Yes." "Reading?" "Yes." "Geography?" Evelyn glanced at Lucy. "Provided your niece agrees the world extends beyond Red Willow." Lucy almost smiled. Samuel lifted Evelyn's traveling case before she could object. "I need someone to teach her," he said. "The ranch has a spare room. You'll be paid every Saturday." "I cannot accept charity." "Good. I wasn't offering any." Silver Creek Ranch stood 8 miles north of town, surrounded by rolling grasslands and red stone hills. The main house was large but strangely lifeless. Dust covered the parlor piano. Books sat unopened on the shelves. The dining table was buried beneath ranch receipts, maps, and unanswered letters. Lucy led Evelyn to a small bedroom overlooking the creek. A clean quilt covered the bed, and a key rested in the lock. "Uncle Samuel fixed the window yesterday," Lucy said. "He said it was because winter is coming, but I think it was because he hoped you would say yes." "Lucy," Samuel warned from the hallway. The girl hurried away before he could say more. Evelyn began teaching the next morning. Lucy was intelligent but impatient. She read adventure stories far above her age level but pretended not to understand fractions. Evelyn quickly discovered this was because Samuel struggled with them and Lucy did not want to embarrass him. Their days fell into a comfortable pattern. Evelyn taught lessons in the morning, organized ranch correspondence in the afternoon, and helped prepare supper in the evening. Samuel worked from before sunrise until darkness, repairing fences, tending cattle, and checking the creek channels that supplied water to the ranch. He spoke little, but Evelyn gradually learned to understand his silence. When he left fresh flowers beside her books without explanation, it meant he had noticed how much she missed her mother's garden. When he repaired the broken piano stool, it meant he wanted to hear her play again. When he began returning to the house before supper instead of eating alone in the bunkhouse, it meant he no longer considered the main house an empty place. One evening, Evelyn found him asleep at the dining table with his head resting beside a stack of invoices. A pencil remained in his hand. She placed a blanket over his shoulders and removed the lamp before it could burn out. Samuel woke as she turned away. "I suppose we're even now," he said sleepily. "For what?" "You fell asleep on me. Now I've fallen asleep on your paperwork." "That is hardly the same thing." "It is from where I'm sitting." For the first time since arriving at Silver Creek, Evelyn heard him laugh. As autumn deepened, people in Red Willow began talking about them. Some claimed Samuel had hired Evelyn because he intended to marry her. Others said she was using Lucy to gain control of the ranch. Evelyn ignored the rumors until the town's founder's celebration. She attended with Lucy while Samuel finished repairing a damaged bridge near the western pasture. The celebration filled Main Street with music, food, and market stalls. Evelyn was examining a table of books when Mayor Bell approached with his wife and several council members. "I hear you found yourself a comfortable position," he said. "I found honest employment." His wife looked Evelyn over. Teaching one child hardly makes a woman respectable. Lucy stepped forward, but Evelyn placed a hand on her shoulder. Respectability, Evelyn said, must be easier to recognize when one has never been forced to earn it. Several people nearby fell silent. Mayor Bell's face reddened. You would be wise to remember that Samuel Reed's name cannot protect you from everything. A voice answered from behind them. She doesn't need my name to protect her. Samuel crossed the street, his boots striking the boards with slow, deliberate steps. He stopped beside Evelyn and removed his hat. But anyone who insults her, he continued, will answer to it. Mayor Bell muttered something about misunderstanding and led his wife away. Samuel turned to Lucy. Have you had any pie? 2 pieces. Then we should find a third. Later that evening, Evelyn sat at the ranch table reviewing a stack of correspondence Samuel had ignored for months. Among the envelopes was a notice from the Red Willow Land and Water Company. It claimed Silver Creek Ranch owed 6 years of unpaid fees for access to the creek. That cannot be right, Evelyn said. Samuel glanced over the paper. My father purchased those water rights before I was born. Do you have the original deed? Somewhere. They searched the office until midnight. The deed was missing, but Evelyn found something stranger. Several letters had been sent to Samuel warning him about unpaid fees, yet every letter was dated before the company supposedly existed. The signatures belonged to Mayor Bell. Over the next week, Evelyn visited the county records office. She discovered that Bell and several investors planned to sell the valley's water access to a railroad syndicate. Ranchers who could not prove ownership would be forced to pay enormous fees or abandon their land. Silver Creek was the largest source of water in the region. If Bell gained control of it, he would control nearly every ranch surrounding Red Willow. Samuel wanted to confront him immediately, but Evelyn stopped him. A dishonest man with influence will deny everything, she said. We need evidence he cannot explain away. Together, they began collecting records. Lucy searched old trunks and found Samuel's father's survey journal. Evelyn compared its boundary descriptions to the county maps. Samuel visited neighboring ranchers and persuaded them to bring their deeds and payment receipts. Someone soon realized what they were doing. A section of Silver Creek's fence was cut during the night. Then cattle were driven into the southern canyon and nearly lost. A warning was nailed to the ranch door. Stop searching, or the next loss will not have 4 legs. Samuel doubled the night watch, but Evelyn knew the threat was aimed at her. Her arrival had drawn Samuel back into town affairs. Her investigation had uncovered the fraud. As long as she remained at Silver Creek, Lucy and Samuel would be in danger. Before sunrise 2 mornings later, Evelyn packed her case. She left a note beside Lucy's school books and walked quietly toward the stable. Samuel was waiting inside. His horse was saddled. So was hers. I thought you might try this, he said. Evelyn stopped. Try what? Leaving before anyone could argue with you. If I go, Bell may believe he has won. The threats might stop. Samuel stepped closer. And where will you go? I will find work. You searched this entire town. There are other towns. And when they close their doors? I will keep moving. Samuel's jaw tightened. That is not living. It kept me alive. For how long? Evelyn looked away. Samuel removed his hat and set it on a stall door. After my brother died, I kept telling myself I was protecting Lucy by working harder. I rode from sunrise until I could no longer see the trail. I ate in the bunkhouse. I slept in my clothes. I convinced myself that providing a roof was the same as giving her a home. His voice lowered. Then you arrived. Lucy started reading aloud again. The piano stopped collecting dust. There was coffee in the kitchen and someone arguing with me about invoices. I do not argue. You informed me that my bookkeeping could frighten a bank robber. It could. A faint smile crossed his face, but quickly disappeared. You didn't bring danger into this house, Evelyn. You brought us back into it. Her eyes filled with tears. Samuel, I cannot promise nothing bad will happen. I cannot promise Belle will surrender quietly, but I can promise you will never have to face him alone. Lucy's voice came from behind them. And you still have to teach me long division. Evelyn turned. Lucy stood in the stable doorway wearing her nightdress, boots, and blue coat. You should be asleep, Evelyn said. I was, until someone tried to abandon me before breakfast. Evelyn knelt and held out her arms. Lucy rushed into them. That afternoon, the three of them rode into Red Willow carrying every document they had found. The town council was meeting inside the church hall to approve the water company's contract with the railroad. Mayor Bells stood before a crowded room describing the agreement as progress. He promised new jobs, improved roads, and prosperity for every family in the valley. Samuel opened the doors before the vote could begin. Evelyn entered beside him carrying the original survey journal. Behind them came more than 20 ranchers. Mayor Bell's confidence faltered. Evelyn placed the records on the council table. She showed that the water company had issued bills before it legally existed. She revealed altered maps, forged signatures, and payments routed into accounts controlled by Bell's relatives. Finally, she presented Samuel's family journal, containing the original survey numbers and the name of the federal officer who had approved the water rights. The county sheriff examined the documents in silence. Mayor Bell attempted to leave, but the ranchers blocked the doorway. By nightfall, the contract had been rejected. Bell was removed from office pending a criminal investigation, and the railroad representatives departed Red Willow without their agreement. Winter arrived early that year. Snow covered the ranch, and Silver Creek froze along its shallow edges. Samuel spent his evenings beside the fireplace while Lucy practiced geography and Evelyn played the piano. One night, Samuel placed a small wooden box on the instrument. Evelyn opened it and found a simple silver ring. I had a speech, he said. It sounded better while I was repairing the north fence. She looked up at him. How much of it do you remember? Not enough to risk saying it. Then say what you do remember. Samuel took her hand. I remember the stagecoach. I remember thinking you looked exhausted even before you fell asleep on me. I remember watching you walk away and wondering why I wished you had stayed. His fingers closed gently around hers. And I remember what this house felt like before you came. I do not want it to feel that way again. Evelyn smiled through her tears. Is that your proposal? It is the surviving portion. Then my answer is yes. The following spring, Red Willow opened a new schoolhouse. Evelyn became its first teacher, and Lucy proudly occupied the desk nearest the window. Samuel often appeared at the end of the day pretending he needed to repair something, though everyone knew he had simply come to walk Evelyn home. Years later, another crowded stagecoach stopped in Red Willow. A young traveler woke to discover she had fallen asleep against the shoulder of the man beside her. The passengers laughed as she hurriedly apologized. Evelyn watched from the schoolhouse steps. Samuel stood beside her, older now, with the same quiet gray eyes and the same weathered hat. Brings back memories, Evelyn said. "My shoulder still hurts." "You said it was the best rest you ever had." "I was trying to prevent you from jumping out of the coach." She leaned against him. "And did it work?" Samuel wrapped an arm around her as Lucy ran toward them from across the street. "You're still here," he said. Evelyn looked toward Silver Creek Ranch, where smoke rose from the chimney and warm light shone through the windows. For most of her life, she had believed home was something a person inherited or purchased. She had been wrong. Home was built quietly, through shared meals, difficult choices, ordinary laughter, and the courage to remain when fear told you to run. She rested her head on Samuel's shoulder, this time deliberately, and neither of them cared who was watching. Evelyn almost left because she believed she was protecting Samuel. Would you have stayed and fought beside him or left to keep him safe? Like, comment, and subscribe.